Snake, have you heard of The Last War?
Nope, doesn't ring a bell.
It's a Japanese movie where the world ends in a nuclear war. Tensions between East and West reach the breaking point, and before anyone can stop it, they launch the ICBMs. Humanity is wiped out by a war that no one wanted. The movie depicts that destruction from the eyes of ordinary people. Their simple daily lives are torn apart by the terrible power of a war that has nothing to do with them.
Everybody's afraid of the next big war, but there's only so much that one person can do.
That's why the people who have the power to stop it have to.
Fueling completed. Computer ready. Firing tower ready for firing. Fire.
T-minus 60 seconds.
57, 56.
So, The Last War. We don't know much about this one, but I think there's a war in it.
I suspect it might be the ultimate war, in fact. Do you have any thoughts on what's going to happen? Because you haven't seen it.
No, but I do, of all Paramedic's sort of recaps of the movies and like plot synopses and stuff, I do sort of remember what she says about this one, so I think I have a general idea of what's going to happen.
Well, this is... I don't know, I'm still a little bit burnt from the last movie we watched. So, I've got a horrible feeling about this one as well. I feel like we're going to get 2 for 2 bad films.
Really?
Well, the only reason I say that is because this is a Japanese film, isn't it?
Yes.
But we're watching a dub.
Yes.
And an American dub, what, in the 1960s?
Oh, something like that.
Right, so as much... And I know during our time watching... which one was it? It wasn't the thing that came... those that came out from outer space?
It came from outer space.
It came from outer space. So we... That guy was the beginning. He was like, oh, brother. I think everybody's going to be that guy in this film.
Yeah.
And I do remember saying, wouldn't it be great if we had a film with more of that guy? I think they're definitely... Thinking on it now, there's definitely too much of that guy.
So you think it's going to be a cheesy dub?
I do. I think it's going to make me cringe, and my butthole is going to be puckered the whole time listening to this brother fella.
Well, I'm not opposed to cheesy dubs. You know, obviously they can alter the feel of the film. This is something I think about, though. I was watching this video the other day where someone was explaining some of the choices that are made when like translating anime or giving them subtitles, and it sort of said a lot of things I suspected, because people are like, "Oh, just do it verbatim," but you can't really do it verbatim because there's like structural differences and idioms and all sorts of things that you've got to take into account. So what you want to do is aim to adapt the intent more than anything. Because like we watched Digimon growing up, didn't we?
Yes.
And that was very much like, I think it still kept the heart of the show, but there was sort of an Americanization of certain aspects in the dialogue, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a generational thing. So the earliest dubs I've ever watched were like kung fu films, and they're generally sort of, like you say, pretty naff and corny, very, very corny. What was it? Drunken Master. Drunken Master is a good example. Like, I actually went into that film thinking it was gonna be in its original language, but no, it wasn't. And it was entertaining, right? But it was hard to listen to sometimes.
Do you remember, like, when we watched Who Am I? And there was bits where Jackie does ADR for other characters. Like, he's going for that guy at the end. He's like, "Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me!" And it sounds nothing like him.
No, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it's when he's on that tower, and he's beating up the capoeira guy who can, like, do the leg split. And the other guy has got the jacket, and the other guy who has the jacket, like, spins him around until his earring comes out of his ear.
The way you described that sounded like Jackie Chan was just beating him up because he was jealous that he could do the splits.
Actually, from what I heard, the guy wasn't as well coordinated as he hoped, and shooting the fight scene with him was really hard, to the point. I think they actually just got a leg on a stick for some shots.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Or did I see it? I really don't remember, but it sounds like it might have happened. Anyway, do you think Jackie Chan's going to be in this film?
I don't know, is he the kind of guy to start a war or even be involved in a war? I think he just like maybe a gang war. But
Yeah.
this sounds like it's going to be a world war.
But I feel like if anyone could eventually win the last war, it'd be Jackie Chan. Like he would get hit in the shins and then have to rub his shins and he'd hit his head and be like, oh my head. But eventually he'd just kick everyone.
Yeah. I mean, he might have the talismans.
Yeah.
And he'd be unstoppable.
And everyone else would be having a bad day.
Yeah. Bad day.
Well, yeah, let's watch the film and see if Jackie Chan's in it.
I can't wait.
Well, first of all, I will say I did like that film. And I think I have quite a bit to say about it compared to the last one, which we were a bit strapped for, weren't we?
Yeah, well, I think our disappointment was a big factor in that. But yeah, I like this film as well, albeit it did leave me in a pretty sour mood at the end.
What, in terms of just how the story wrapped up?
I mean, I saw it coming, but I just didn't expect it to be visualized in the way that it was. But I'll talk about that when we get to it.
I'll just say that in the intro I said I thought I had a pretty good idea of how this film was going to go down. I honestly thought the war was going to happen a lot sooner, and then like most of the film was going to be like post-apocalypse, like, okay, how do we deal with this now? It's kind of the opposite. It's really sort of focuses more on the normal everyday life. Every now and again it cuts to some military stuff. And then at the end is just the end of the world.
Well, the way they structured it, I've described it as it was like someone was trying to watch a soap opera on one channel, and they kept changing to a completely different movie at certain parts. But I think that really does play to its strength, because while you're there watching the soap opera bit, while you're following this family, you're having a good time because everything seems to be going well. There's like there's the wonder of like a nuclear attack gonna happen at any time, but that's not really the focus.
Yeah, and to them, as far as they're living their day-to-day lives, that's not really a reality. It's more of an abstract idea.
Yeah. But yeah, as it keeps cutting to remind us that the threat is there to the viewer, and then all of a sudden they mesh together at the end, and then you realise there is no changing the channel. It's this is reality. You got to deal with it. You got to watch it now.
That's pretty good, actually. And because I was thinking while I was watching it, it's very sudden the way it sort of escalates from like the normal everyday stuff to like, oh, this is real. And I was thinking of like it's almost like a nuclear reaction, like a chain reaction of it just builds and builds and builds, and then there's no stopping it. Because there are quite a few scenes in the movie where like there's some false starts, where like just because the apparatus isn't working properly, it just seems like the war's going to go off, whether they like it or not. But to pull back a little bit, we were talking a little about how it was going to be adapted and how it'd be changed. I would say, like, most of the dubbing works for me because it's quite an old-fashioned film in terms of, like, how people are acting and the sensibilities, and it is quite a corny dub. For the most part, I think it works because, like you say, it is kind of soap opera-y. Like, there's just, like, just the scenarios that people are in, like, day-to-day, taking kids to school, discussing marriage.
It's all very relatable stuff that happens every day.
Yeah, and just sort of like that old-timey, because it's a very old-timey dub in terms of the performance, but not like sort of, no one's really trying to do a Japanese accent or anything, they're just sort of using the style of the time. The only thing I really don't think works is the kids. The kids all sound so fucking cheesy.
The kids... Okay, well, I think all the kids were voiced by the same woman. In fact, I think all the women were voiced by the same woman, and all the men, quite possibly, voiced by the same... I think this was dubbed by just an old couple who just saw the film and thought, oh, I can't understand this thing, what's going on? Let's dub it ourselves, darling. And then they give it to some Hollywood studio and say, what do you think of this? And I was like, well, I guess if you're doing it for free...
You really did this on the cheap.
Yeah, it didn't take long for me, because I went into it thinking, oh god, the acting is going to be terrible, the dubbing is going to sound like ridiculous. It did, but it was kind of a godsend, because with the nature of the film and the theme and everything, it's put me into this sense of like dread. I'm going to feel horrible, which I do feel horrible now that I've watched it, but the saving grace was all the cheesy acting and but another thing I thought was great about the acting, and this is why I thought it was an old couple. I don't really think that, but it seems that way because they obviously took the time to look at each character and give them an appropriate voice.
Yeah.
Because there was an old fella on the screen, and all of a sudden he was like, hey, you know.
He's kind of slurring, he's a bit bumbling.
So I'm thinking, like, if it was one guy doing all the voices, that he obviously watched the film and might have even done it on the fly. I mean, it certainly seemed that way with the dad. The dad is like, he obviously looked at all of his mannerisms. He was like, when he was looking all like awkward when he was talking to his daughter about marrying this fella.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And he's slapping his wife. Goes, don't talk like that.
Yeah, there is kind of like it's appropriate, but there is sort of like an easygoing vibe to it. Like, it doesn't sound like they're half-arsing it, but it does sound like they're kind of like throwing it away a little bit and just like trying to make it sound a bit more casual.
Yeah, that definitely like makes it all the more relatable.
And I wasn't paying super close attention to the lip syncing, but by the end, it's something clicked where I was like, the lip syncing's pretty close. And like, they're still managing to get across quite an emotional performance, but like it is matching sort of the lip movement quite well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so strange because our structure of speaking is so different from the Japanese.
Yeah.
But having said that, like you say, just like it. I mean, not so much for lips. If you really do look at the lips, you can tell they're not saying the exact same words.
Yeah.
But if you look at their facial expressions and you look at like the rhythm of which they're talking, somehow we've made this script. I don't know if there is a script because it really does seem like they're ad-libbing everything because just on the visuals alone.
I don't know. I think I think there definitely has to be a script, but it seems just like they've hit the right notes. Like, even if it's in a different order, they've sort of matched the intensity of the performance. Yeah, I think that's sort of made it work quite well. And it's not like a super real. I mean, nothing's really a realistic mix, but because it is quite an old-timey, it has that feel to it. Sort of a mix of like where the voice placement is and how it feels in the room and everything. It all kind of feels appropriate.
You did your research. Well, you did a little bit of research on the difference between, say, if we watch the Japanese version, or watch the version we did end up watching. You said there was a half an hour difference.
Yeah, the runtime of this was about 120 minutes, whereas the original Japanese was about 1 hour 50. And I think my suspicion, because there's a lot of bits in it that are sort of narrated, aren't there?
Yes.
You pointed out at one point they were having like a romantic date, and he's like saying, "Oh, why does war have to be this way? And why can't we all just get along?" And then towards the end, just narrates what he's saying. Yeah,
that was so weird because at one point he says, "Why can't we just, at the push of a button, send medicine and toys to all the lovely children out there?"
Yeah.
And he does it, and you can see he's saying that in the scene because he's like motioning, pushing a button, and, like, shooting off all this medicine and I think, well, why would you do that?
I don't know. I mean, some scenes where you could think like, oh, maybe this is like, you know, like in Star Wars, there's these long political scenes where they're talking about, you know, policy and stuff. And I think maybe those were the ones that were abridged, because those were the ones that tended to have like narration over them. They were just sort of like setting everything up.
There were a couple times where I thought potentially things were extended for the American cut.
Yeah?
Well, one scene in particular, right, is there was that scene when he was mentioning it's Japanese custom to come back to your lover and then act as if you've not been away for like days and months or whatever.
That was sort of the weirdest thing to me, because I think the longer the film went on, the less concerned they were with cultural differences. I think, because it's like, okay, if you've been watching this long, we're not going to try and like soften anything for you. We're just going to show it as it is. But yeah, they go into this long spiel of like, you could sort of picture him in a room going, oh wait, he's been at sea for ages and this is his girlfriend and he's just sort of like really casual and everything. Like, shouldn't he be like hugging her or kissing her? It's like, no, that's not how they do. And like, they just think that's such an inconceivable way to be. They have to like really point out like, oh, well, you have to see the Japanese people, they're very reserved. They don't outwardly show their emotions very much. And
But when you're translating that to the American version, it's like you're obviously telling the American audience that because they wouldn't understand otherwise why they're acting that way. Whereas, what would that scene been if not that narration? Would it just have been the scene of them just like talking back and forth? Like
Yeah,
saying,
sort of.
how you doing? No, I'm great. Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of building up to like them letting their emotions out. Now, here's the thing. I think that might have bothered me more in the long run. But I think, this is obviously isn't specific to Japanese people, but I think, you know that sort of thing where people, they're in such a dire situation that they're just completely coping and they're just going through the motions and acting like nothing's wrong. And that's very, very heavily... Because, you know, like, when you watch anime, that happens quite a lot. Like, come on, man, you're not going to die. We're gonna go see the ocean together, aren't we? Right? And they're just sort of like, you know, coping. That's the only way I know how to put it. And towards the end of the film, they're, like, fucking, like, coping like nothing else. When they're all, like, trying to deal with everything, they say, oh, mother, you haven't taken your medicine. And, yes, I must take my medicine. There's no point. But, you know...
No. Yeah, even if I was like, yes, remember children. She must always take her medicine.
I think that's what makes it really emotional, is, like, they're trying to keep a stiff upper lip, just for the sake of the kids and everything. And, like, the mother breaks first. And I think, because she was holding it together throughout the whole film. And he, because there's that thing in Japan, you don't pour your own drink, you have to pour it for someone else. And he pours... It's the first time he pours a drink for her. And for some reason, that's the thing that really... Like, well, things must be pretty crap if this is what's going on. And yeah, she just breaks down, so that would hit pretty hard.
Yeah, the whole... I'm sure there was some metaphor about the tulip that they planted. But the only thing I can think of is that it doesn't matter if you lay the foundations for some... nuclear war will kill everything. And it will all be laid to waste. I'm trying to, like, actually divulge, like, what is the moral of this... Obviously, the moral is don't shoot nuclear missiles at each other because everything will end and it won't be worth it. But I don't know, is that really all there is to this film? Because if there's so many other things you could, like with the tulip, is that just another extension of it's not just human life, it's all life?
It could be. I didn't consider that. I just took that as another thing, like, oh yes, we have to water the tulips and we have to do this, and they're just going through the motions of everyday life even though they know they're going to die soon. So that's just how I took that. But
well, they were also mentioning, like, the father and the mother were, like, insistent that the tulip, even when they are gone, will still thrive. But that's not true either, really, because...
Well, not...
Well, you might make a mutant tulip, and that might be, like, the new, you know, harbingers of this earth. They'll, like, sprout little legs and, like, walk around like we do.
I guess it was... I mean, they were hoping that it would. Maybe it... You know, from the looks of things at the end, it probably wouldn't.
The imagery at the end, while it did look quite naff because it was all just miniatures, it kind of reminded me of that scene from Team America. I couldn't help but just, like, overhear Kim Jong-il talking about everyone fending for themselves. And, you know, there will be barons.
Yeah, and it would be far too late.
Exactly. But one imagery that I thought was very, very, like, impending doom sort of level, and quite frightening, actually, was the red cloud. Because they added a red hue to sort of a lot of shots, but the clouds, just the slow-moving cloud that's, like, encroaching over the land, that's sort of like, it's like a monster. It's sort of like the wino from James and the Giant Peach, except, you know, it's more relatable because it's real, and it's, you know.
I've got written down here in capital letters, red, because towards the end of the film, it, like, I know it's a nuclear holocaust, and I have sort of an image in my head of what that looks like, and it's just sort of like vaporization and clouds and stuff. But this is very, like, it looks like hell on earth. The sound of the missiles going into the air and the trail they leave behind, it's like this really loud, really shrill screeching noise. The black rain as well, because black rain is a real thing that happens with a nuclear explosion. So not only is it like...
it looks like all that ending scene was just hellfire and clouds and just a demon lord, like, taking over everything. That's all I saw.
Yeah, I thought, it's pretty effective. I think, because earlier on in the film, they show you some of the miniatures of all the cities and stuff. And I'm like, they're probably going to blow those up at the end. Because otherwise, why would they have them? But what I thought was weird, and I didn't notice this in any of the others, but for the one of France, they had, like, a really nice, high-fidelity one. But then, just before it explodes, it cuts to a really shitty one.
Maybe the first explosion wasn't
very good.
Yeah, so I thought,
they just had to staple it back together.
Yeah, well, let's just do it again. Hey, we'll make this one out of, like, little Cheetos and papier-mâché. Forget about the actual, you know. wooden figurines and such.
You were saying some of the dubbing.
Yes. Well, like I said before, it didn't take me long to enjoy thoroughly the dubbing that was received. I mean, what was the first character we saw? It was the captain or the...
Yeah, the sea captain.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of... I don't know if this was in the original Japanese version, but this is sort of framed as being narrated by the boyfriend.
Yeah.
On the boat, just basically after the war has happened.
I mean, I wasn't even thinking about that, but it's obviously he makes it out somehow and to tell this story.
Yeah.
Maybe not for long. Maybe he dies shortly after.
Yeah.
But then that first fella, he's I wouldn't say he was overly funny, but I heard his voice and I thought, I might like this film after all, just because it was very like, I don't know if have you ever seen the or any dub scenes from Hercules Goes to New York?
I might have done a while ago.
So, well, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And for some reason, even though he talks English, it's what I think it is his like first like Hollywood-esque sort of film. So it's quite broken English, but they did feel the need to dub him.
Yeah.
So there is a copy of the film where he's like, I'm tired of the same old faces, the same old people. Where he's like, I'm tired of the same old faces, same old people. But,
why does he sound like Tommy Wiseau?
He's tired and he's wasted. I love you, Zeus. No, yeah. Well, what would you prefer to listen to?
Oh, I don't know. They both have their appeal. It's like when you watch Kung Fu Hustle, do you watch the Japanese version or the one that is deliberately paying homage to cheesy dubs? If there's one thing I can't stand, it's a cheater.
If everyone is dubbed, I'll give it a whirl. But say if it's only one character because of his accent, that's not right. I don't think that's right. And I think that is the case with the Hercules film.
Yeah.
It is just Arnie's voice.
But there is a bit of a, like we say, a silliness, a corniness to the dub. Until there isn't, sort of. Like, when the stakes get serious, the dub gets more serious.
Apart from the children. They will always be goofy.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could just tell it's a 40-year-old woman.
The only time it wasn't was when they were singing, I think. They got actual kids for the singing.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Unless that was stock. But that's another thing about some of the differences. Well, there's a few major ones. I don't think they were watching that cartoon on TV. I think maybe they interspliced a shot of a different cartoon.
What do you think it was before? Power Rangers?
I don't know, like probably Astro Boy or something, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they had American cartoons in Japan, but that seemed like something they might have changed.
Why would they bother watching American cartoons when they have anime?
I don't know. But there's another one where they're talking about she's reading a story to the kids and it's the Billy Goat Gruff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I assumed that must have been added. But then they do have a shot of a book, and I couldn't tell, was it in Japanese or not?
Yes, it was.
Oh, well, maybe that was in the original, I don't know, but I assumed that wasn't. But they couldn't have been singing It's a Small World after all, right? That's probably like some Japanese kid's song.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But
it might have been the same song they were singing in Godzilla.
Maybe I did think of that when we were watching it. But speaking of funny dub moments, they sing that song because the teacher, the old man, is going back to the boat because he's got his sea legs back. I don't know if he had an accident or something. And so the lady teacher calls everyone around to sort of say goodbye to him and sing him a song.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they play the same clip 3 times, and when it zooms in on his face, he's sort of smiling at the kids singing It's a Small World After All, which really made me laugh. Because have you ever seen Anger Management?
Yeah, you know what? I know exactly what you're talking about because it reminded me. Because somebody recreated that scene in Anger Management, and he was nodding, he's like, and he's smiling. Somebody recreated that, but they had Joel Miller from The Last of Us instead.
But yeah, that just really made me laugh, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't like it was getting closer, they just replayed the same shot. And I think it was meant to be sweet, but it just came across as really jarring.
Yeah, creeptastic.
Yeah, there's quite a few bits in this where like the dubbing isn't necessarily funny, but because they have quite sharp edits where they cut to like narration or military stuff. Like when I was talking about the coping, there's a bit where the mother who has a sick child at the school is calling, like saying, "I'll come over and we'll go to the zoo and we'll do all this and we'll go to the zoo." And that was quite sad, but then it cuts right away to something else, and it reminds me of like a cut in a David Lynch film or something.
There were a few characters who came on screen and I don't. They weren't Japanese, although I did think one of them was.
Yeah.
Because it was cutting from country to country.
Yeah, like different military organizations and stuff.
There was this one scene where there was this plane. I think it was dropping off nukes, or it was dropping something off. It didn't look like nukes, but it was a plane that was flying above the submarines near the beginning of the film. And one of the engineers not the pilot himself, but one of the engineers in the back, looked like Will Ferrell.
Oh.
He looked like Will Ferrell, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect there to be anyone but Japanese people in this film. And then later on, we went to a different country. Not sure where it was. I mean, it's hard to tell because the whole film is dubbed in English. Apart from that one scene when they were like radioing the entire world.
Yeah, and they were trying to make it clear, like, oh, there's like different news broadcasts going out everywhere.
Yeah, that was the only scene when they didn't have like dubbing, which is fine. That makes sense. But yeah, it was the country where they're all wearing yellow. I gotta say, a lot of these like military scenes, they seem to think that they've portrayed them as like hogs of war characters. They're all wearing just specific. Yellow is Russia, red is something else, and then blue is America or whatever. Which I found.
Like, I don't think I should be here.
Yeah, I found it quite comical, honestly. But yeah, what another dude there? He looked like he was a spitting image of Matt LeBlanc.
Oh,
And he looked like Joey from Friends.
yeah.
Except skinny. And you saw his face. He was the first face you saw in the scene. I was like, is that a Japanese Joey Tribbiani? And then later on we found out, oh wait, no, this is a totally different country. But still, it was it took me back a little bit.
It's funny because this film reminded me a lot of the other films we've been watching. Particularly, we said during It Came From Outer Space, there was a bit of a Mysterions vibe. And because of all the miniatures and stuff in this, like there's a shaky plane and there's like, you know, tanks and planes blowing each other up and submarines and all sorts of things, I was getting like, it reminded me a lot of Thunderbirds.
Yeah, I got that too. And you know what? I think it doesn't matter how elaborate the special effects are. I think miniatures, even when they're trying to portray a very serious topic like nuclear war, are a lot more effective.
Yeah?
I think they're a lot more effective than any special effects could ever, like... Because, like, I've not been disturbed by any, like, explosion in a Marvel film, let's say. You know, big, massive explosion. I've not been disturbed by anything like that more than I have the red cloud that we saw at the end of this film. I think it's just... I mean,
Because it's more evocative.
Yeah, I think to myself, was that even a cloud? Was it a painting? Was it like an illusion sort of like thing? But whatever it was a lot more effective, I think, and it served its purpose well.
It does, like, obviously they're a bit shaky and some of the explosions aren't to scale, but there is something more... You know, like when you watch a cartoon, you know it's not real, but you kind of accept it on its own terms.
Yeah.
And I guess that's how I kind of feel about miniatures. Like, I know they're not real, but... because I know they're not real, I sort of go, well, all right, show me what you're going to show me. And they do sort of have like a more visceral effect on you, in a weird way.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I'm glad we agree.
Buddha watches us have sex.
Yeah, I did write that down too. Because what's sort of funny about, like, I don't know if they've altered any of the dialogue at all. It doesn't seem like they do, because like we say, it sort of fits either way. But, like, there's a bit earlier in the film when it's, like, saying, oh, she can't marry, like, oh, they can't go there together, what if they're indecent or whatever? And it's like, well, you know, we were indecent before. And, oh, when he's, like, asking for his permission to marry her, they're doing, like, a funny little role-play thing, and he walks in on it, like a bumbling sitcom dad. And they're talking about when they're courting, and it turns out she was a really popular girl at school. And he says, oh, he said if I didn't marry him, he'd kill himself. So then we got married and it's been happy ever since. It's like, why are you telling him that?
Yeah. It's so weird because, I mean, there's a few things that were mentioned in that film which, if it was a soap opera, I would like to know more. You know, I would happily watch an entire program of this family, but that's probably not going to happen because they are all dead.
I suppose it would have to be like Dinosaurs, because Dinosaurs ends with everyone dying as well, doesn't it?
You know, when you take the soap opera aspect that I've mentioned, and you take, like, the serious drama, like real-life stuff, it also reminds me of Yakuza 3. Do you know when, you know, you're playing the game, and you're taking care of the kids, and you're running the orphanage, and it's really wholesome and sweet?
Yeah, and they're having, like, just, like, little small dramas and
yeah,
stuff.
and there's, like, you know, there's a few laughs, there's a few tears, all that kind of stuff. But you know, right from the get-go, like, Kiryu needs to go back to the Yakuza and fuck shit up. You know, we have to deal with this whole nuclear war thing and not fuck shit up.
Yeah. But the thing is, they're just living their lives. They've got no say in this. This is all miles and miles away, and it just sort of happens, and they don't have a say in it. And that's just sort of like the whole thing of, like, we're just living our lives, we haven't done anything. Like, they don't even leave the city, partly because they think, well, what's the point? You know, we can't run anywhere, everyone's going to die. But it's also like, we didn't do anything. Why would they blow us up? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but at one point he said, we've done nothing wrong, we don't need to run.
Yeah.
But it's not really a question of doing wrong or doing right.
There is sort of
because it's got nothing to do with you, really.
Yeah, it's just happening.
Try and escape, but you can't escape this.
No, I mean, I think when he finally goes up onto the balcony, like, for a second I thought, I mean, I don't know why I thought this, because he's only one story up. It's not like he'd kill himself. And also, he wouldn't do that to his family, even though, you know, the end is coming, I don't think. But yeah, when he just goes up there and he's just, like, crying out into the air, why is this happening? It's not fair. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's the last time we really see we see some military people just sort of like staring at charts and graphs, and you got the recurring imagery of like the ticking clock. But I think that's the last time we sort of see a regular person.
Now, well, we do see them like embracing each other in the very final moments in the living room.
Oh, this was something that was really cool, actually. They have like a panning shot where like the camera's sliding along. It has like this parallax effect of like the foreground's really dark and black, and the sort of lights inside. And the way sort of like the boards and the window frames and stuff are done, it's almost like they're in like a prison. It's like they're trapped and they can't get out.
Oh.
That was sort of what I got from it. But yeah, like, that was quite because there's a lot of family stuff that happens there, it's quite warm and inviting and cozy. But then towards the end, the lighting is so dark and like it's like they can't play house anymore.
Well, what I remembered from that scene, I did remember the panning. And I obviously stuck in my head for a while, because later on, after the midst of the chaos, there was another panning shot, and I was like, oh my god, please don't pan and see their charred remains. I don't think I could handle that. But that didn't happen. Yeah, that would be too much. Because we already saw, halfway through the film, there were like these charred remains.
It would have like there'd been like a skirmish, and yeah, it's just they were completely vaporized in the ground. It's sort of, I couldn't really tell at first, because it was only sort of a vague outline of a human. They were just like a pile of dust.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me say that again, I was burping. Just like a pile of dust.
Yes.
Yeah. Another thing that's sort of... Would they have mentioned God? Because the music seems to have been changed. It doesn't seem like the original score, does it?
No.
I assume not.
Oh, well...
It's
I really don't know. I think it probably is the original score.
It might be, but there's kind of like a little goofiness to it, and it doesn't have like the bombast I would expect from that era, but maybe I'm wrong about that, maybe... It did just seem like more of a Western score to me. It seemed like the type of thing you'd see in a black and white romance movie or something.
Especially when did this film come out?
I don't know. I want to say the 50s, but I might be wrong about that. I mean, it has to be post-World War II, right?
Yeah. It's colour as well.
So yeah, maybe the music's different, but yeah, at one point they mentioned, the war can't go off, because then we'd have to accept God doesn't exist. But do most Japanese people believe in like a monotheistic god? Like, they're more sort of like into the Shintoism, right? That's sort of like the general...
Well, they mention Buddha at some point.
Yeah, they do mention Buddha.
Maybe it's just an oversight.
Yeah.
Or maybe he wasn't even speaking literally.
Yeah, it could just be like the general idea.
Whoever does believe in God can no longer admit that, God does exist.
That's possible, And the final thing, which there's no way this is in the original, they end with Kennedy's speech on anti-nuclear war.
Yeah, that's probably not in the original cut.
Yeah, and it would mean that this version had to been made in the 60s, right? Because Kennedy died in 63. He was like killed I think he was killed the day before the first episode of Doctor Who came out.
Well, they'll always have his recording. Doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, but they won't have it before that time, so this edit must have been like...
I see what you mean.
Quite a few years later, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole... I mean, there's a few things about this that made me think of Hideo Kojima, like the focus on the machinery, but also like the whole anti-nuke thing, and there's actually a few bits that reminded me of I forget his full name, Anno, the guy who did like Evangelion, just like a lot of the tanks coming together and firing their missiles. I don't know if he was inspired by that, but yeah, I could sort of. I don't know if it's made a big splash in Japan, but some of the imagery was sort of like reminded me of a lot of the stuff I like. And the last thing I wanted to point out was the ending shot. Even in the aftermath of the war, there's quite a pretty... Well, I think it feels wrong to call it pretty, but there's quite an interesting sunset where the sun is quite piercing. The sky's kind of cool and calm, and it's just sort of sitting on top of the horizon where like all the destruction is. And it's this very confusing sort of... Something awful has happened, so many people have died, but now it's sort of calm, and like maybe it'll recover, and maybe... It wasn't like a totally hopeless... It's pretty damn bleak, but it wasn't totally hopeless. There was an idea that life would persist somehow.
A light in the darkness sort of thing.
I guess so,
That's
yeah.
what the sun may represent in that shot.
Yeah, I guess that's what I got from it. Well, all in all, it's a good film. I mean, obviously, Jackie Chan didn't show up.
No, that's true, he didn't.
And if
he really let me down.
Yeah, no, I think if he did, he really could have turned things around. But, you know, I guess he can't be everywhere, can he?
What have you learned from this film?
I guess I just learned that nuclear war sucks, and I'd rather it didn't happen. I didn't learn that, though. I guess I
mean, we've
knew.
played enough Metal Gear games to know, you know, that nuclear war is bad. And then war in general is bad. But nuclear war is much more devastating.
Yes.
And it should be taken seriously. On top of all that, I've learned I don't think I'm ever going to ride the Small World attraction in Disney the same way ever again. It's just going to remind me of this film, and I might just dunk my head in the water and just end it all right there.
All right.
It's a small world after all.
Yeah. Well, let's look to the future, shall we? Let's not think of doom and gloom. There's more movies to watch.
Oh boy, what is it going to be next?
The next movie on the list is The Forbidden Planet.
Wow.
So we're not supposed to go there, but we don't give a shit, mate, do we?
No, I mean, if the camera crew were prepared to go there and, like, you know, film a movie there, then, you know, what's to stop us from having a look?
Nothing at all. Let's go now.
Let's go now. Time's a wasting.
Time's a wasting. Let's get on.